I must be cautious and smart. This dame seems shy, which I can use to my advantage. But I must be careful about what I say to her, or I could scare her off. Let's start gently, and when the time comes, we can go in hard. Who exactly are you, ma'am?
I'm not somebody important, Mr. Featherland.
You're important enough to deal with such a delicate matter, right?
I carry out the wishes of my employer, nothing more. This means simple paperwork, most of the time.
You've been thrown into deep water, sweetheart. Tell me, can you even swim?
Believe me, this is just as unpleasant for me as it is for you, if not even more.
Tell me, which part of the city do you live in? Calavera Hills? Flowerville, maybe?
Look, I don't want to answer that. I'm here on behalf of my employer, and not on personal business.
Fair point, Deborah. Let's try a different approach. Why did you have to visit me this particular evening?
I have my reasons. I may look like a silly little fawn, and maybe I am, but I still have common sense.
I don't doubt that for a second, Miss Ibanez.
This day is essential to my mistress, and she thought it's also important to you.
A message in itself, for sure. But to be honest, even you are.
You know what? I'll just take that as a compliment, even if it wasn't meant as such.
Why did you come to visit me? Why not your employer herself?
My employer is Miss Natasha Catzenko. She hasn't been leaving her home lately, only if she really has to.
How so?
Miss Natasha is afraid. She's scared because of those unwanted messages, and everyone knows who she is.
So she's that kind of woman.
I don't know what you mean.
Of course you do, Deborah. Thank you, by the way. We're finally getting somewhere. We avoided the point long enough. Deborah's hiding something, no question. Let's focus on that. What exactly did you expect by coming here to meet me?
I expected your help, just like my mistress said.
Well, that's very nice. But have you seen this neighborhood? Have you seen this wreck called a hotel? Who were you hoping to find in a place like this?
Someone reliable.
Well, I am reliable.
And discreet.
That's right.
And thorough.
No question about that.
And has a heart of gold.
Okay, let's stop it right there. Are you in some sort of jam?
Nothing of the sort. There are simply things better left unsaid.
Then you're wasting my time.
I trust your instincts. You'll manage it.
Yeah, and I have no other choice, right?
To be honest, no, Mr. Featherland. Not really.
Don't you think this whole thing is a little suspicious?
Look, Santino. I'll explain everything.
I have no doubt about that. You look just the type, sweetheart. No offense.
I'll take that as a compliment. Or maybe I'll act like I haven't heard it.
You see, we're starting to understand each other. Tell me, Deborah, why should I believe you at all?
Because my mistress trusts you.
Should that be enough?
If you really like what she thinks you are, then yes.
Damn, what can I say to that?
Look, I didn't mean to back you up against the wall.
You have a way with words, sweetheart. Did you ever want to be a cop?
No, not for the world.
Heh, smart answer. Be honest and tell me what you're so afraid of.
You know, Mr. Featherland, my mistress's partner is Hobart Wessler. Or as most people know him...
Ibn Wessler, the Kingpin.
Exactly.
Feathery gods, help me.
So you get it now. The secrecy.
To put it mildly, I think I understand it all. Wessler. This little piece of the puzzle changes everything. How did you feel when you heard about the blackmail?
Honestly, I found it ridiculous.
And now?
Now I'm kinda interested. But I wouldn't call it blackmail yet. They're just empty threats. There were no demands.
Good point.
Thank you. Are we done?
No, not quite.
I'm sorry to hear that.
You seem a very busy man. May I ask what you do?
It's, uninteresting.
Would you elaborate?
I got a small share in the meat substitute business. If the new product works, maybe we can make your job easier.
You mean reduce predation in Clawville?
There are such plans. If you're interested, talk to Olivia, my assistant. She's an expert in what she does, unlike me.
Thank you. That's it for now. How are your alibis, Mr. Wessler?
Am I a suspect? That was fast. But thank you for asking. They're solid. Just ask Olivia. She can enlighten you in this matter too, if you're curious.
No need. And no, you're not a suspect. Yet. No more than everyone else in Clawville.
That's, reassuring.
Wessler is tougher than I thought. And he's secretive. It's time to gently beat around the bush. Do you spend a lot of your time here?
That's a strange question, you know.
Humor me.
Well, of course I spend a lot of time here. I'm here every time Natasha performs. Sadly, it's getting rarer.
Is it compatible with your other businesses?
Huh? What? Writing threatening messages and hiding them?
I didn't say that.
You're sly for a foul, Featherland. But this ain't your territory, is it?
I guess not, Mr. Wessler. Business going well, Mr. Wessler?
Depends on which one.
Real estate, catering, charity, protection, extortion, bribing cops, contraband, the usual.
Funny guy.
How are the casinos?
Fine, thank you. Gambling has always been a good business. Luck is expensive around here.
Damn, if only I knew that. I heard gambling was illegal.
And I've heard you're not on the force at the moment.
Then it seems we have a fair fight.
On uneven ground, Mr. Featherland. I'm not sure I'd stand on it for long if I were you.
That was candid.
I try to be clear.
Is everything all right between you and Natasha?
Yeah, you don't beat around the bush, do you? Understandable, I guess. Naturally, our relationship is stable and perfect. I'm the setting, she's the gemstone. If you know what I mean.
I rarely hear such poetry, but I understand exactly what you mean, Mr. Wessler.
So, you have your answer.
No recent friction?
Wouldn't you like to know?
It would make my job easier.
It would only lead you astray. So be glad that I tell you no. No friction.
Ibn is quick-tempered, and I can use that to my advantage. I've confounded and softened him with my previous questions. Now it's time to be specific and ruthless. The mob boss and the pussycat, eh? How did you even meet?
Huh? Are you trying to piss me off, Corpora, so I accidentally let some big secret slip out, huh?
A simple answer would work.
You know, Natasha, she's both connoisseur and muse. So, how was it? When was it exactly?
You don't remember? That's strange.
Ah, yeah. The Millions, of course. It was like another lifetime. It happened right here, only this place was called the Millions back then. She was a dancer. Behind the scenes, I arranged opportunities for her on the big stage. Yeah, maybe she still doesn't know it was me. Then one day, I invited her for a drink with a promise that if she was willing to meet me, I'd buy the place for her.
I guess she was willing.
The next day, she had the club in her name.
Well, that is romantic.
Yeah, there are many kinds of romance, Birdman. There's cheap and there's expensive. You get what you can afford.
Do you live in the same house as Natasha?
Oh, you're really something. Natasha's a free woman, but mostly, yeah, at my place in Gold Town. But she has her own kind of a weekend house.
How often does she use the weekend house?
Yeah, every other weekend, roughly.
I see. That's very important information.
Yeah, if you say so.
So Natasha feels like she's in grave danger, yet she's still going out alone.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at, but I'm 100% sure of her loyalty. She's gone out very rarely since this started, and mostly in my company. Yeah, you know, I'm not sure if you do, but in our social circles, banquets and dinners are frequent.
Illegal gambling nights.
You got me there. Yeah, you're right. Natasha is crazy about the roulette wheel.
Always putting it all on the red, right?
Yeah, you're a real rotten bastard, Sonny. Although, yeah, always on the red. You're right.
So, can we meet your lady?
I don't see why not. But first, please, listen to her sing. She's on soon.
That was a remarkable performance.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Do you perform here frequently? You're also the owner, if I'm not mistaken.
Sadly, I don't have the time, but this stage still calls my name, and I perform just a few times a year, and always with a new song.
So that was all the excitement.
I have many admirers, if that's what you mean. Yes.
The place is very elegant, and so's your room.
Why, thank you.
I kind of feel like I'm in a museum.
Well, that depends on the kind of museum.
The kind with nice things.
Oh.
Suspiciously nice things, just like you.
Do you think I'm suspicious?
We'll see about that.
Try me.
Do you think one of your admirers might be behind the threats?
Those who admire me usually idolize me. No, I don't think it's one of them.
You know, the soul of an animal is extremely complicated. Sometimes all it takes is a bad look or some small rejection to turn admiration into hate.
That's a stillborn theory. No one hates me if they once loved me, Mr. Detective.
Ah, I see. Why Deborah? She's a nice girl, but why didn't you come to me?
Didn't you ask her the same thing already?
I did, but I like to hear it from all sides.
Well, since this whole thing started, I admit I'm not too keen on leaving my home. When I do, it's only with an escort.
Ibn Wessler has nothing to do with this?
Ibn has everything to do with me. Almost everything. But I didn't want to upset him with this. He thinks I'm overreacting.
Deep behind the diamond skin lies the truth. It doesn't matter how hard Natasha's trying to hide it. She's scared. Now I must concentrate to finally find out what I want to know. What was in those threats, exactly?
The message itself is not a threat. It's just a word.
But a word again and again is threatening.
Exactly.
So?
You really don't have any idea which word could be used for a woman like me?
I guess I do. Yes, I think I know what it could be.
Whore. Cat got your tongue? Am I right? You heard it. I said what you were thinking. And yes, that was in the message. That was printed on the paper and painted on my wall in giant red letters.
Well, thank you for your honesty. No one's ever seen the culprit? Not even a shadow?
That's one of the most curious things. Eben has men everywhere, literally, my shadows, ghosts in every alley. But no one saw anything.
One of them could be the culprit.
Eben pays his animals well, and he's the most dangerous man in the city. A combination that nullifies your theory, I believe?
Maybe, ma'am. Love is capable of insane miracles and miraculous insanity.
What poetry. Did you ever think about writing a book?
Never. I'm afraid I'd learn too much about myself.
Maybe that's the point. I would read about you. Not like the chicken police Pulp Fiction.
Furry hell. Do you read that trash?
Like everyone else in the city.
Oh, great.
I think it's flattering, even as badly written tales of heroes in the gutter.
You enjoy it?
Well, just a little, Sonny. Just a little.
A dark shadow from the past? An ex-lover? A husband, maybe?
I'm surprised you asked that just now.
Well, I have my habits. Some call my methods peculiar.
What a curious way to put it.
I'm a curious kind of fellow. So?
I've never been married, and I don't really have any serious relationship before Hobart.
A more dangerous, not serious relationship, maybe?
I've never been with anyone long enough for them to hate me.
Love is just another face of hate.
So is hate a face of love, then?
I guess. Were you on the run?
No, Mr. Featherland. I came to Clawville with a clean slate, and I'd like to believe it will stay that way.
You mean as the girlfriend of Ibn Wessler, the biggest mob boss in Clawville? Yeah, good luck with that. Natasha is a mysterious woman, but I must gouge out at least one of her secrets. Enough games. It's time to know why I'm here. Let's stop beating about the bush. How do you know Molly?
I'm prepared for that question, but it's still not easy.
You knew very well that if you threw in the name of my wife, I'd come to you no matter how vague and suspicious the case was. I just want to know if you're simply a manipulator or you're really that desperate.
I really know her. I'm not lying.
Oh, really? How? Were you a nurse, too? Forgive me, but I don't think so.
Don't be rude and so cynical, Sonny.
I'm sorry, but that's me when feline claws are at my throat.
Molly is an old and good friend of mine. She has nothing to do with this, but I knew that if I didn't mention it to you, you wouldn't have come.
Yeah, Natasha, you're right there.
I knew you were a decent fowl, that you would help me. That's what you're famous for.
Don't go there. Flattery doesn't work.
Look, forgive me. I shouldn't have brought your wife into this.
You're right, you shouldn't have. But to be honest, I don't think she's my wife anymore. On paper she is, but I haven't seen her in years.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Really?
I did. I knew I checked you out before I sent Deborah.
Cluck me. This case is getting more and more intriguing. You played me from the start, didn't you?
It wasn't my intention.
I'm an old cock, Natasha. I've played too many of these games, and I've been on the losing side often enough.
So, you're going to walk away?
You're damn right. I don't know if it's worth it for me.
Look, Sonny, money's not an issue.
Oh yeah, your fawn had already mentioned that. But unfortunately, it'll be hard to spend all that dough when I'm dead.
Dead? Don't even say that.
Do you have a gun?
Me?
Of course you, Natasha. Do you have it on you?
Not at the moment.
Well, let me give you some advice. Keep it with you, always. Maybe in your purse.
You don't think they, whoever they are, would hurt me?
Don't be naive, Natasha.
You're right. I'll keep it with me.
I don't want to scare you, but 2 cops snooping around can mess something like this up, even if it's just 2 roosters.
You'll keep snooping? Thank you, Sonny.
Maybe you're getting yourself into even deeper trouble with me. Thank me when this is all over. Who's behind the legend, Miss Zaiwass? Who are you, really?
Just an animal raised to survive, Mr. Featherland. And because I've been taught, I know how to survive. I always was what I had to be.
And you managed to dodge my question. Clever.
Well, you see, this is one of the typical elements of survival. The way of dodging a delicate question and still making the questioner believe he got the answer. But you're too cunning and experienced, aren't you? You're not an easy one to fool.
I'm trying to maintain appearances, ma'am.
You should. Appearances, most of the time, are stronger and more dangerous than the truth.
Tell me, were you really the king's spy?
If that's such an open secret, then I haven't been doing my job very well, isn't that right? Yes, I was a spy. But that's such a blunt way of putting it. I always say I used to undertake confidential, generally political assignments of a delicate nature for the king that were in the interests of national security.
Put that way, it sounds rather romantic.
Don't believe the cheap fiction, Mr. Featherland. Espionage is anything but romantic.
I believe you, madam.
If you must know, I only did it because I believed I could protect those that I serve. Weapons have only one use in this world: to keep the peace. Yes, I always thought about myself and my craft that way.
Thank you for your honesty, ma'am. Why is the identity of the card's owner so delicate, Miss Zaiwass?
You know, in my line of work, discretion is above everything. Yes. But of course, I have my own interest, like everybody else.
You mean every secret has its price?
Precisely, Mr. Featherland. But the price is not always measured in money.
Information. The most valuable thing for a spy.
I'm not a spy, Mr. Featherland, but in a way, you're right. A secret is such a valuable thing that I only exchange one secret for another.
If I guess who the card belongs to, will you tell me?
I wouldn't say that's an acceptable price for such a secret as this, but if you guess right, I won't lie to you. Then, I will tell you you were right. Yes.
Good. Let's see. The answer to my question. Natasha Catzenko.
Well, Mr. Featherland, it seems the gossip about you is right. What gave it away?
It couldn't have been easier. There's a beautiful woman with a mysterious past, trying to keep it a secret, while someone's threatening her with the exact same thing, leaving rather unmistakable messages behind. Plus, we found the card on Deborah, who was her best friend and confidant, so she was either trying to hide it or destroy it forever, so no one could find out the truth. Am I right so far?
Indeed, Mr. Featherland.
So if I'm not mistaken, Natasha used to work for you before she met Ibn Wessler. He fell in love with her, gave her a job at the Millions Club. The rest is history.
You have talent, Mr. Featherland. I'm really sorry you're not working for the government.
I am working for the government. I'm a cop.
Are you sure, Mr. Featherland?
Touché.
Indeed. Natasha used to work here. We can put it that way, but you know, this isn't just a workplace. She also lived here. She was part of our family, and we still love her very much.
Right. That puts everything in a different light. Zaiwass is a true survivor, always was, and she's proud of that even to this day. Maybe I can get her to trust me if I play to this part of her. Why did you take her in? Maybe you saw yourself in Natasha.
She was only 17 when she knocked on the rear entrance of the brothel on an unusually cold, rainy night. I opened the door myself.
Was Natasha alone?
Yes, completely alone. Her left arm was slashed with an ugly wound, and she was frozen to the bone, barefoot, only a thin nightgown on her.
Did she tell you what happened to her?
After I brought her into the house, warmed her up, and changed her into new clothes, that was the first thing I asked. But no, she didn't tell me. We became very good friends, but I still don't know what happened to her and where she came from, or how she knew about this place and the rear entrance.
And you weren't bothered by all those secrets?
That would have been very hypocritical of me, don't you think? No, it didn't bother me. I make a living out of secrets, Mr. Featherland.
I see. Do you know where Natasha came from before Clawville?
Naturally. The poor dear couldn't even deny it. Even her name's eloquent, her accent, but mostly her manners, Mr. Featherland. She's from Zaiwass, and she belonged to the upper class of Stavonian social circles. She could barely even speak the language when I first met her.
That's all you know about her. An ex-spy like you must have checked up on her new protege's past.
That's the most exciting thing. Yes, I have. Multiple times putting my most treasured connections to good use. But nobody found anything. Natasha's trail could only be traced back to the Stavonian border. What happened in that country, no one knows.
It's rather curious, don't you think?
It is, Mr. Featherland. Yes, curious. That's why I've always been rather fond of Natasha.
Did it touch you deeply when she left you?
Indeed, it did.
Zaiwass is protective. It seems she's dedicating her whole life to her proteges. If I concentrate on that, maybe she'll open up to me. Have you kept in touch?
Only occasionally, Mr. Featherland. She writes to me every few weeks, and very rarely we talk on the phone. But I haven't heard from her in weeks. The truth is, I've started to worry about her.
Did she give no sign of being in trouble?
Never. No. Natasha's not the kind to talk about her feelings.
Yeah, I've noticed that myself. When was the last time you saw her, Madame Zaiwass?
Maybe around 2 months ago. There was a ball, attended by Ibn Wessler, his beautiful mate Natasha, and myself. Yes.
Was she herself? Did you feel like she was afraid or worried about something?
On the contrary, she was unrestrained, free, radiant. She was in love. Yes, in her own unique way.
What do you mean?
You know Natasha loves on a different level than most Clawville women. Or most women in the wilderness, in fact. Maybe it's because of the Stovonian origins. Perhaps it's something else.
So you didn't notice anything strange about her?
Well, if anything could be called strange, it was that I saw a woman positively floating above the ground, who previously used to stand on it with 2 feet.
I see. Thank you, madam. How did you feel when you learned Natasha was going to leave?
Honestly, I was very hurt. I loved her as a daughter. How would you have felt?
I couldn't say.
And I still couldn't stop her, and you know why?
Of course I do, because you loved her.
You've been in my shoes before, am I right, Detective? Yes, I can feel you have.
This isn't about me, madam. Please stop changing the subject.
I have felt betrayed on a certain level. Yes, and offended, and alone. Even amongst all my friends.
Were you disappointed in her?
Only in myself, Mr. Featherland. But I have a hunch you know this feeling very well.
Yes, you're right. Well, thank you for your time, madam.
Anytime, Detective. Yes, anytime.
So what the hell are you doing around here, Timbo?
All right, I confess, but you'll be surprised. I was looking for you boys. The whole town's talking about you.
Really? I'm swelling with pride.
Everybody's whispering about the chicken police being back together again. And that you've already turned the whole city upside down.
Great news. What else do they say?
That you've threatened Ibn Wessler's sweetheart Natasha, then trashed Madame Zaiwass's brothel. Hard stuff.
Really? I'm not surprised.
Oh, and the best! You set fire to a ship, too.
Yeah, right.
Ah, and one more thing. A poor girl was found dead at Natasha's place after you visited there.
Is that so? And you believe all that?
I'm a journalist, Sonny. It doesn't matter what I believe.
Yeah, right. And why were you looking for us here, of all places?
You offend me, Sonny. I'm your biggest fan. I knew the hop dog's gonna be on your list.
So it was a lucky guess.
Something like that. And I'm wasting time here often anyway, so I had nothing to lose. And here we are.
Out with it, Tim. Who squawked?
Well, any decent journalist has connections everywhere, Sonny. So have I.
So?
You don't think I'm gonna betray my source? What do you take me for, a rat? Sorry, I mean, I didn't mean it like that. I have no problem with rats.
What happened to Zipp, Tim?
Okay. When I arrived here, the hop dog was already closed. Zipp wanted to shoo me away, but I managed to persuade him to talk to me a little. We're old friends, Sonny, you know? And I have this personal charm.
Yeah, right, the charm. Get to the point, Timbo.
Okay. So, he was totally crazy. I've never seen him like that before. He was flustered, flailing, and talking absolute gibberish.
He must have said something, since you're such great friends.
He just said he'd go to the only place where there are even bigger scoundrels than those that are after him.
Really? I can guess what he meant.
I didn't have a clue. Anyway, after he closed the dog behind me, and then the cops came and took him away in handcuffs, I came to the conclusion that all of this makes no sense.
Zipp, you clever son of a bitch.
Why? Oh, what is it? Oh, tell me.
You just keep your beak out of this, Scribbler. I think I've got an idea about what our little friend's up to. Timbo loves to brag, and it's easy to approach him through his ego. Best if we ruthlessly exploit that. Working on a new front-page article, eh?
Well, if a specific celebrity couple's willing to give me an interview, then maybe I am.
Don't even dream about it, Timby.
Eee.
As you're so well-informed, Timster, tell me about Madame Zaiwass.
Well, they say she's kinda angry because someone trashed her brothel. Oh, and that someone was allegedly you and Marty.
Yeah, you already told us. Good story. Anything else? With a little more truth in it.
Allegedly, Ibn Wessler's men were seen around the brothel. I have a hunch that they were the same two guys that came here, too.
Gee, that may even be true. Timbo, you pay attention to everything. Did anyone else come here?
Besides the coppers? Yeah, a ram and a bobcat, in fact.
But you just told us it wasn't them.
Wasn't them what? I didn't say they took Zipp, because that's not how it happened.
Don't make me mad, Tim. We're really not in the mood for this.
Hey, I'm only telling you the truth. They stopped here in a fancy big car, looked around, then left. Zipp was no longer here. Neither were the coppers, okay?
Tiny Tim is a true fan of ours, and it's time to finally use that to our advantage. Help your old pals, Tim. What was Zipp doing before they took him away?
Hey, you're trying to grease me up with all that sweet talk, sonny honey.
Of course not, Tim. We're old pals.
I'm sure we are, but I don't remember you telling me that without an ulterior motive. But you know what? I don't care. Feels good anyway.
I'm glad to hear that. So...
Zipp was acting crazy. He was running around, knocking over everything and throwing things away. Then he suddenly disappeared into the kitchen. I guess that's when he made the call, because soon after that, the coppers arrived.
And in between?
Well, I didn't see him in between.
Why didn't you go inside? He's your friend, isn't he?
Well, I tried, Sonny. The door was closed. I knocked, even yelled. You know how a yelling seagull sounds like. But nothing.
I think I have a hunch what that was all about.
Good for you, Sonny.
Zipp was hiding something in the dog, right?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, you tell me. You're good old friends, aren't you?
Well, that's right, Sonny, but Zipp's not the kind to easily share his secrets. But now that you put it that way...
That's more like it, Tim. Tell me, what do you know?
I don't know what it could be exactly. I mean, maybe it's not even relevant, but I'm sure Zipp was trying to get rid of something when I arrived here.
What? And where?
I don't know, okay? I already told you too much. If Zipp hears about me telling you all this, he's never gonna talk to me again.
Tim, unless we find Zipp, he's not gonna talk to anyone ever again. Not in this life, at least. Who did you escape from? And why here, Zipp?
Why?
Because I like living, that's why.
How did you know they were coming for you?
I got a tip-off from a friend that I should pack my things and go if I want to live. But I had nowhere to run. Yeah, you know me. The hop dog's my everything.
So you thought you'd be safe here?
Of course. Ibben's people are everywhere, but, maybe it's harder to get rid of me at the PD.
Well, I wouldn't be so sure about that. How did you manage to piss off Ibn Wessler?
I don't know, all right?
I don't have time for this. Sing like a bird, or I can't guarantee your safety.
I did something for him, that's all, okay? A tiny little favor. You know how it goes, Sonny. Animals like Wessler make a living out of these kinds of favors.
Tiny little favor, eh? Wessler's kind don't send assassins after someone for tiny little favors.
You have no idea what's going on in his head nowadays, pal. Fella's gone totally insane.
What did you have to do for Ibn?
I never hurt anyone, all right? Let's make that clear right now.
I never said you did.
I just had to get rid of a package for the boss. That was the job. Quick, clean, simple, right?
Yeah? What kind of package?
A very heavy one.
Dead bodies are kinda heavy, Zipp.
How did you know it was a dead body?
I didn't. I was bluffing, but thanks for the answer.
You lousy chicken.
Zipp's a secretive little specimen, but knowing his past, it's no surprise. I must take advantage of this and trap him with it. So, a dead body, huh? What kind, exactly?
How should I know? What am I, a butcher? A zoologist?
You still know something about it.
It was wrapped up entirely, okay? I didn't see any of it. It was, I don't know, average. Like you and me.
Scaly, hairy, furry, feathery, or bald? What kind, exactly?
Hey, I don't know, all right? I told you it was wrapped up.
If they let you out, what do you think will happen?
I don't know, okay? Maybe it was a stupid idea coming here, but this was my best stupid idea. Maybe I'll win a few days with it.
Or a few hours, more likely. If you help us, maybe we can cover this whole mess up.
You mean you can be bought, Sonny? What a time to be alive. The unbribable Santino Featherland.
I'm suspended, Zipp, and I'm talking chicken to raccoon.
Oh, I see. You're a foul.
Why did you keep that wristband?
Because it seemed important. And because, you know me, I'm trying to turn every situation to my advantage. That's the way Zipp works.
How, exactly?
Who knows? It seemed important. It just fell out of the body bag, and I thought, look, this shit seems important, so why not?
That's why they want to kill you.
I have no friggin' way of knowing that. Why don't you ask them, huh?
What happened to the body, Zipp?
I don't know, Sonny. All I had to do was drop it in an abandoned part of the hive.
Where starvation's most prevalent, I guess. Where insects fight for their survival, right?
I couldn't have found a better way to get rid of a corpse myself. All that fresh meat must have been gone in a matter of minutes. Fuck, I don't know. I didn't stick around to see what happened.
You make me sick, Zipp.
You would have done exactly the same thing in my situation. Anyone would have. I got the order, I did what I had to. I wanted to survive.
That's Ibn for you. Blackmail.
Yeah, something like that.
Zipp may be secretive, but if he manages to open up, he's also honest. He's not trying to change the subject anymore, so I only have one thing left to do. Ask the right questions. So, he wanted to blame it all on the insects. Why would he do that?
They're easy prey.
Yeah, I get it.
Insanely simple, Sonny. Ibn Wessler's not the only one who takes advantage of the tensions, you know. It's the easiest method of sweeping things under the rug.
I've heard that Wessler's trying to break into the substitute meat industry.
Surprised? What do you think will happen if Wessler saves Roachtown from starvation with a new, cheap, and accessible faux meat product, eh? Boom!
He's gonna be a hero.
And maybe he'll get voted into the Council of 12.
Clucking hell. I'm asking you for the last time. What's with the wristband?
I honestly have no idea, Sonny. It simply fell out of the bag when I threw it down in the alley. At first, I wanted to leave it there, but then, well, you know me, huh?
And that's the whole story?
That's the whole story. At first, I thought it was some kind of, code. But on a wristband, it's usually an ID number instead.
Like on prisoners?
Exactly. But I know from experience that prisoners don't get bands like this. Not in Clawville. It looks more like something from a hospital.
Maybe you're right, Zipp. While we're at it, was it Dr. Bubo who gave you the tip-off to get out of the hop dog?
Yeah, it was. Why?
Thanks, Zipp. You've helped us put some vital pieces into place.
Well, that's great. That didn't help me, Sonny. I don't want to rot in here or end up in an alley of the Hive.
We'll see what we can do.
You gotta help me.
Be glad I'm not charging you as an accomplice to murder here and now. Just keep your head down. Understand?
I will, Boss Bird. I will.
That's more like it. So when did Albert become a resident of your institute?
Albert and Hobart, or Ibn as you call him, arrived here almost exactly 4 years ago.
Could you describe that day more specifically?
It was not long after New Year's Eve, maybe the first week of the year, if I'm not mistaken. It was sleeting that day. Wind was banging incessantly on the windows. The power was going out for short periods of time.
What was your first impression of them?
I already knew the Wessler name. I knew who they were. Or at least I knew one of them, Hobart Wessler. He was famous. Gangster, moneylender, celebrity, lover.
And Albert?
He was new to me, an invisible gray ghost. The family had tried to keep his existence a secret.
Why?
Because they were ashamed of him, of course, Mr. Featherland. That's how it usually is.
What was your first impression of him?
He was silent, but observed everything that surrounded him. His eyes were constantly moving, never stopped for a second.
Was he afraid?
I wouldn't say so. It seemed to me that he wanted to move into our institution voluntarily. It looked as if he couldn't wait to be here, alone, locked up in silence and darkness.
Didn't you think of that as unusual?
Of course I did, but who am I to judge? It was rather special treatment.
What kind of special treatment did Albert get?
You know, if an institution like ours has to accept a Wessler as a guest, there's bound to be some favoritism.
And complete secrecy, I guess.
Yes, but that's the case for all our patients, Mr. Featherland.
Of course. So in what way did he receive more than the others?
Basically, we don't admit anyone into our institution without a complete and thorough prior assessment. In the case of Albert, we put that aside.
So you didn't even know if he had anything wrong with him?
Initially, no. He was more of a guest than a patient.
How did you see Albert when you first met?
Albert was shy and reserved, like a ghost. He almost never touched anything. It was evident he was exceptionally intelligent. He measured and observed everything around him.
What else?
He was delicate and graceful, almost like a woman. Yes, he was rather feminine. He was an artist, Mr. Featherland, a magnificent painter, and rather good writer, too. Sometimes I even heard him sing.
Why did he have to be locked up?
I asked the same thing at first.
Are you telling me Albert had multiple personalities?
We found out very quickly that there was no other reason for the cause of his seizures. He had a cold and calculating personality who sometimes, especially on stormy days, took the reins over their shared mind.
He had these seizures from the beginning.
Yes, Mr. Featherland, but they started to intensify after Albert left our institution for the first time.
He did what? Left the institution? More than once?
Oh, yes, Mr. Featherland. Albert left the institution on several occasions until the last time, when he failed to come back.
Quetzal's not only very observant, but he's addicted to details. I must focus on that if I want to get closer to the truth. Focus. Addicted to details. When and why did Albert leave the institution for the first time?
It was about 2 years ago. Mr. Hobart Wessler appeared and demanded we let his brother go free. Naturally, we obliged. We had no idea if we'd ever see him again.
But you did.
He returned the same day. Albert was ecstatic. He was unrestrained. I could almost say happy.
That was unusual for him?
I had never seen him like that before, Mr. Featherland. He just smiled and stared at the empty wall for hours.
Did he ever tell you what happened to him outside?
Of course he did. Albert and I had a good relationship. He was working on a painting for his brother.
Was it a painting of a lovely lady cat?
Oh, exactly. So you already knew about that?
Yes, Dr. Quetzal, I've seen it. So Albert left on many occasions to continue working on the painting.
Exactly, Mr. Featherland. Every time he came back, he was like a different person. But unfortunately, his seizures also multiplied and became more dangerous.
More dangerous?
Albert was hurting himself. And on one occasion, he even tried to hurt me. It was unprecedented. It seemed his confined personality was taking over their shared mind entirely, piece by piece.
Do you think the painting caused it?
Not the painting, Mr. Featherland.
But its subject.
Exactly. He was obsessed, right until that fateful day when he returned to us for the last time.
What exactly happened that day, Doctor?
It wasn't Hobart who brought his brother back that day, but two of his gorillas. Not literally, I mean. And Albert was in a terrible, terrible state.
What happened to him?
I don't like to talk about that, Mr. Featherland.
It could be vital to the case, Dr. Quetzal. Don't back down.
Oh, you're right. There's no use turning back now. So, Albert's tongue was torn out, or cut off, I don't know exactly, and he was blinded in one eye, or rather, one of his eyes was missing entirely.
So you're saying Albert was brought back horribly mutilated?
Yes. And they didn't give any explanation as to what had happened. They simply told me it was some kind of accident.
Dr. Quetzal is cold and professional, but he's also very confused. Maybe it's cruel, but I must exploit his vulnerability if I want to learn everything about Albert. Focus, confused. Maybe it's not easy for you to talk about it, but did you examine his wounds thoroughly?
I'm not that kind of doctor, Mr. Featherland, but even I could determine his tongue was either cut out or bitten off, and his eye was gouged out. He also had several broken bones.
But there's no doubt it wasn't an accident.
I don't believe it was, Mr. Featherland.
I totally agree. Concentrate, Doctor. What do you think happened to Albert?
I'm sure it was Hobart. He ordered his men to mutilate poor Albert.
But why would he do that?
Maybe Albert saw something he could accidentally reveal.
To whom? The four walls? A couple of crazies? You?
To anyone, Mr. Featherland.
I don't think it's that simple, Doctor. But thank you for your honest opinion.
You're welcome, Detective.
What happened then? How did Albert disappear?
A few weeks later, Hobart came to visit Albert one more time. Albert had been in terrible condition by then. We even had to transfer him to another cell, a more safe one.
What did Hobart do during the visit?
He didn't do anything. He just sat and watched his brother, who was in an almost vegetative state by then.
Couldn't you manage to draw anything out of him? You or Hobart?
Nothing. For a while, he was trying to signal something. Perhaps he was too afraid. And most likely his fingers had been broken too, so he couldn't even write.
Do you think Hobart could have killed Albert?
It's horrible to say it, but I'm sure of it.
How did he disappear in the end? Did someone come for him?
That's what's most eerie about it all, Mr. Featherland. He simply disappeared. His door, which only I had a key for, was open.
Did anyone see anything?
No one. We interrogated the staff, even the patients. He simply vanished off the face of the wilderness. We don't know what happened to him.
Unfortunately, I have a hunch. Thank you, Doctor. You've been a great help.
Oh, well, I'm glad I could be of help. But please, I now must attend to my work.
We understand, Doctor. Thank you. What were you thinking, Albert? How long did you think you could keep it up?
Until the end of my life, if needs. Yeah, I cared about nothing except for her to love me. Not for who Ibn was, but for who I am.
Why did you think that would happen? Everybody noticed the change.
Yeah, I knew it would be hard, Santino. But I also knew animals see what they want to see. I didn't have to behave like Ibn. They only had to believe I'm him.
Why did you decide to take your brother's place?
Yeah, as you're curious. From the moment I laid eyes on Natasha for the first time. but I had to convince myself that this was the only way.
You've never talked about your feelings for Natasha with your brother, am I right?
Are you insane? Ibn would have had me killed immediately, and no one would ever know.
So instead, you've done the same thing, haven't you? What a comfortable excuse.
Comfortable? Do you think all of this was just some kind of cruel game for me? I had to destroy the person I loved and respected the most.
Cry me a river.
Yeah, you know, there's only a thin, fragile membrane between love and hate. If anything touches it, it tears immediately. You felt like this before, haven't you? Yeah, I can see it in your eyes.
You can analyze me until the sun goes down, Wessler, but you won't get far with that.
Yeah, evasive answer. So I'm right.
Did you ever believe that you were Ibn Wessler?
Did I ever believe? I still do. I believed it all along. Don't you get it? I am Ibn Wessler.
And also, Albert Wessler.
I see you're starting to understand.
So you feel you're two people at the same time, even now?
Does it sound crazy? Maybe it is. But Ibn lives inside me. Sometimes he's even stronger than Albert ever was.
Do you think you can avoid the gas chamber with this, Albert?
I don't have to avoid anything, Sonny. You and your friend, will never leave this place. It's better if you start getting used to the thought.
You're not the cold-blooded killer you'd like to think you are.
Yeah, do you think so? Try me, detective.
That was your plan. Take his place and live happily ever after.
Why? Isn't it good enough of a plan, Mr. Featherland? It was perfect, even in its imperfection.
Which is?
Ibn's ghost.
His what?
Please don't take it literally, Mr. Chicken. I'm not talking about, spirits. When Ibn died, I didn't just take his place, but also his role. He himself, his essence, if you will. Yeah, though I guess that's too much for you to understand.
So you mean Ibn's here with us, even now?
He was here all along. Don't you get it? I am Hobart Ibn Wessler.
I must get serious, because looking at the gun in Wessler's trembling hand, I'm afraid I don't have much time. Albert is a cruel psychopath, but maybe I can turn that cruelty against him. When was the moment you decided to kill him, Albert?
When I drew the last stroke on that fatal painting, Mr. Featherland. When I glanced at it for the last time, and then at Natasha, who was shivering under the weight of my gaze.
You simply fell in love with her? End of story?
Not in the slightest, Mr. Featherland. Love is, just chemistry. What I felt was more than that.
Everybody thinks that, Albert. But we all feel the same. We're just fools.
No, Mr. Featherland. Not at all. At that moment, I knew what I was gonna do. I knew that the world was coming to an end if I didn't do it. It implodes on itself and ceases to exist. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't.
Let him have her, right? You simply wanted her for yourself.
I wanted her for ourselves, Sonny. I was him by then. He just didn't know it yet.
Do you think you can explain everything with your insanity?
Don't be a fool, Sonny. Insanity is just a temporary state. Just a stop on the way to enlightenment.
So you admit you're insane. That's surprising for your kind.
Of course I'm not insane.
Ah, well, here we are.
Albert was insane. He lost all connections to reality. But I saved him.
You mean you're Ibn?
Both of us, Mr. Featherland.
Okay. I almost understand everything now.
Don't mock me, Mr. Featherland. You're still at the wrong end of the gun, you remember?
It would be hard to forget. When did you decide that we too have to die?
Can I be honest? I didn't want to hurt you, even after what you've done at the club, after interrogating Natasha and me so cruelly. I didn't care. You just saw what's on the outside, just scratching the surface.
Until we found Deborah.
I didn't even know about you finding her until the phone call from the Nile. Then it all became clear. I understood I underestimated you. I had to remedy that mistake before it was too late.
You remove anyone if they happen to cross your path, don't you? Without batting an eye.
Ibn had always been like that. Albert the opposite, so don't think I wasn't struggling, but eventually, yeah. Courage won, every time.
You mean fear?
Yeah. What do you know about these concepts, Detective? You spent your life chasing petty nobodies until you turned into one of them.
I may be a nobody, Mr. Wessler, but at least I know who and what I am. I'm Santino Featherland. Tell me, can you still tell who you really are? Albert? Ibn? Both of them? Neither.
Enough, Santino. Enough games. Ask your last question before I get tired of you and pull the trigger.
I'm very close to breaking him, but if I'm too hard on him, I could quickly be signing my death warrant. It's time to dig a little bit deeper and uncover Wessler's wounds. Natasha was kind to you, right? Too kind.
Natasha was, simply amazing, gentle, kind, lively, but still so, distant.
You're telling me.
It's like she was from another world. A world where everything's full of charm and grace and everything's fragile and delicate. Do you understand?
I think I do, yes.
I knew Albert's touch would harm her. Albert is rough. Albert can't keep such a delicate thing in his arms.
That's why you had to become Ibn, am I right?
I didn't take Ibn's place, Mr. Featherland. I became one with him, can't you see? It's the only way I could comprehend and accept the miracle that was Natasha.
Was?
I think I've corrupted her. She's not that gentle and pure creature I painted on the canvas anymore. I ruined her. She became rotten under my hands.
Maybe it's not too late, Albert. Tell her the truth and end this.
No. You can't understand this. She can't either. I killed Ibn, but he also killed me, can't you see? We're nothing without each other.
You can't be two people at the same time, Albert. Nobody can bear the weight of the sins of two souls.
Ibn loved her. I admired her. Ibn was crazy about her. I've been crazy for a long time. Ibn idolized her, and I hated her. And if there's anything more blind, more devoted, more extreme, and more true than love, it could only be hate, Mr. Featherland. It's an endlessly exciting, thrilling, and warm feeling. And infinitely red. Just like love.
You know you're not going to be able to go through with it, right? That you won't be able to carry the weight. But you still did it. Why?
Yeah, if I didn't kill him and become one with him, Albert would have died, Mr. Featherland.
And the threats? Which one of you was that? Albert or Ibn? Who wrote them? And which one of you killed Deborah?
In my world, Ibn and I are inseparable. Just like love and hate are one and the same. And I hate Natasha so much that I could destroy myself along with her, just so she would die with me. Are you familiar with this feeling, Mr. Featherland?
More than life itself.
You see? We're not so different after all.
You and I have nothing in common, Wessler. You know why?
Why, Mr. Featherland?
Because if I were in your shoes, I would have pulled the trigger a long time ago.
Goodbye, Sonny.
So long, Albert.